Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizers, I welcome you all to the 22nd edition of Innovative Private Limited and Diebold Next Door Future Banking Summit 2024. Before we start the proceedings, I'd like to thank Pasha and the other sponsors of this event, especially Innovative Private Limited and Diebold Next Door for their continuous support, without which this summit would not have been possible. To start the proceedings formally, I'd like to call upon, welcome on stage, Ms. Amna Hanif, who is the CEO of NDS Technologies, to enlighten us with her views. Amna, please join us.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to be here and welcome you all to the Future Banking Summit and Expo of 2024. I've been told this is the 22nd consecutive year that they're having this event of this magnitude. So first of all, congratulations to Total Communications for pulling this off year after year. It is not an easy feat to do it so consistently. Again, I would also like to thank the distinguished speakers, bank CEOs, industry leaders, technology experts, and my fellow colleague. I would like to extend a warm sense of appreciation to Innovative and Diebold Nixford for being a partner for this event for the past 22 years. Thank you for your commitment and trust. A round of applause for them, please. As I've been introduced, my name is Amna Hanif. I am the CEO of NDS Technologies. I believe there's a slide in the back which mentions a few of the services and products that we offer. We have been in the field for more than 3 decades, and we have clients ranging from the financial and banking sector to pharmaceutical, agriculture, chemical, engineering, education, aviation, telecom, and so on and so forth. So we've been around for quite a while. I am not from the financial sector, so I do not have in-depth knowledge as you do, but I do dabble in IT, so I have a few general observations and points which I would like to make today. As we know, well, firstly about the summit, it gives us an amazing platform to explore ideas and exchange thought processes. But the world as we know it in the financial technology, it's drastically changing. From fintech innovations to digital transformation, the way we manage and handle money has changed drastically, and it's evolving at a faster speed than ever before. When we talk about, and we will discuss this in detail, but I want to highlight one point, whereas there are ample benefits and opportunities, we need to similarly put enough emphasis on the risk and challenges that we will be facing when we go on forward. As the program commences, we'll delve into some critical aspects like blockchains and AI-powered services, open banking, and the paradigm shift towards the cashless economies. I think the banks have a moral responsibility to emphasize more on the supervision and governance of this, because the risk factor from my perspective, let alone the IT aspect, as a consumer, is quite a lot. When I talk about the topics I just mentioned, as I talk about the traditional banking, which is evolving into something new, my question as a layperson or a consumer is, what makes traditional banking so unique? So when I talk about blockchains and AI-powered services, my question is regarding crypto asset or stablecoins. What is money, or what is a commodity? What is a deposit? What is a security? And in conclusion, what is a bank? So I think these are inherently important questions that we need to address as well, because it identifies the key value added of the innovation and the services that you are going to offer in the future, how the services which you are offering is better. Is it economical? Is it cheaper? Is it faster? Or is it something completely transformatively innovative? When I talk about innovation, then I cannot avoid talking about the risk associated with it. Are we taking the traditional economic and the traditional financial risk and wrapping it up in the new technology? Are we mitigating the risk, or are we merely masking the risk? From an IT perspective and a consumer perspective, that gives me a knee-jerk reaction, because then I think even though the benefits are tenfolds, I mean, there is taxation, increase in efficiency, reduced crimes, but for me, if I'm thinking as a consumer or as a layperson, my immediate reaction is, what about accessibility? What about privacy? And when I talk about privacy, I do not merely mean the anonymity which cash transactions give you, but I'm talking about the consumer buying, selling, or your client buying, selling, and saving habits. Who is protecting the little guy? What about your clients? Who is protecting their data? Because as we all know, consumer data itself has become a billion-dollar industry on its own, which leads me to security, which should have been my number one point. But security in all aspects, I mean, we can talk about hackers, we can talk about cyber attacks, we can talk about malware and ransomware, but equally important is the internal threats from within your organization, which are relevant and which should be also addressed. I'm sure we will discuss about this in much more detail as the day progresses. A simple request, I would love for this event to be more interactive rather than a one-way unit. So I would appreciate if everybody could ask questions, participate in discussion, share your ideas, collaborate together. Maybe we are redefining the landscape of the future banking of Pakistan right here, right now. So let's all be a part of it. And thank you so much for taking time out to being here. And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amna. Definitely, we should be carefully listening to each other and carefully trying to collaborate. And if there are questions that people need to ask, and the speakers encourage such, you can just raise your hands and then go ahead with your questions so that they can be addressed there and then. Next in line is Yahya Khan, CDO and Group Head of Bank Al-Flah. And we welcome him on stage. Yahya, please join us.
Assalamu alaikum. I see familiar faces for the number of years that I've been coming and speaking. Acha, aaj ka topic is the future of banking, and I think one particular emphasis is on cashless economy. So I'll share with you the practitioner's view and what at least we exercise with the hope that wider knowledge is then shared. I think I also see in the subsequent sessions there is going to be more conversation about reduction of cash. So I'll talk about two themes that we follow. The first one is the reduction of cash in circulation. So we are aware that Pakistan is a cash-denominated economy. We are also aware that we have one of the largest cash-to-GDP ratios in the world. About just over 3 trillion rupees of cash that is being printed by the central bank. Almost 1/3 of that is not accounted for, so it's not in the deposits of the banks. So that's a very high proportion of cash in circulation. So even the ones which is in the banks gets converted into cash during the day and comes back to the banks at night. So that also contributes, but at least 10 trillion is for sure cash in circulation. So the first thing I think that this country needs extensively is the network of cash deposit machines. Regardless of whichever technology we use, but there is the need of cash deposit machines. Put simply, banks shut at 5 o'clock. Our markets do not shut at 5 o'clock. Our distribution chains do not shut at 5 o'clock. There is a need for people to convert their cash into digital after 5. The next one is the digital acceptance points. So while I think a lot of work has been done recently in providing where delivery versus payment takes place,
like this
at the proximity payments, however, a lot more has to be done. So even if we say that we have give and take 150,000 digital acceptance points in the country, but our retailers are about 5 million. So I think that ratio needs to drastically go up. Now we also understand that it ain't going to be easy for even the collection of banks or other companies to put 5 million acceptance points. Then we need to be innovative. We need to be innovative as to what form of acceptance points we are deploying and what form of POS we are deploying. And I also, I think there has to be some engineering that also has to go on with the suppliers, which are, and the vendors who are here and partners, and the service providers, which are financial institutions in this case, to come up with whatever suits them about the digital acceptance points. And there are multiple ways of digital acceptance, as we know. There's a tap and pay, there's an NFC, there's a dip and pay, swipe and pay has finished now. There's a QR acceptance, RFID acceptance. So all of those acceptance are happening. So the bank or the financial institution has to decide what works best for them and work with the partners to develop that engineering. Third, for the customers to get hooked into paying digitally, they must have an incentive, and that incentive can't just be cash back. I think we have tried cash back and beaten it to death for the customers, or discounts. There has to be something more value added for them, and one of those value added things that now it's good to see some providers have started doing is giving the flexibility of buy now, pay later. If there's an incentive for buy now, pay later for the customer, we have seen they are more likely to use the digital acceptance points, and also the ticket size is higher in that case. Fourth point is the instant issuance. So one thing that sometimes us as practitioners tend to ignore is that regardless of as many acceptance points as we put in the country, the number of people who have the ability to use digital acceptance points is still limited, right? Give and take 60 odd million consumers. Now, so that means that a large proportion of the adult population do not still have the digital means to pay, regardless of however many acceptance points we have put in place. So again, financial institutions will have to work with the partners to come up with solutions where they're instantly enabling a customer from paying cash into paying digital instantly at the point of sale. We now have the infrastructure to support that with RAS P2M coming in, and let's talk about that. So it's instant contextualized. By instant I mean vendor or merchants do not have to wait for 2 days to settle their funds. They can get it instantly, not even overnight for RTGS. They get it instantly. It's contextualized, so it can check the context while making a payment to that merchant. So that infrastructure has been put in place, but in order to utilize that infrastructure properly, the issuers will now have to once again come up with innovative ways of issuing. Not just cards, I'm not just talking about cards, it could be any way of issuance. It could be QR, it could be RFID, it could be sound waves, whatever that is, but it has to be instant. The limitation right now is that we as practitioners think that we have to, and we are also using a top makhi marne ke liye. So we open a bank account to enable a customer to make a payment transaction. Payment transaction does not need a bank account. Payment transaction needs a payment instrument, and that instrument doesn't have to be a physical instrument, it could be any instrument. So anyway, again, I've now started seeing that some issuers have started working on those instant issuance methods, which is helping. Tax incentive for digital payments. I think in Punjab we are all aware that there was the tax incentive if somebody was to, a customer was to make a digital payment, the sales tax was reduced. The same has now been applied in Sindh, which is fantastic. So I think I'm sure most of you are aware when you go to restaurants now, started seeing that if you're making a payment digitally, there is some lacuna in that. That's going to be removed by the Sindh Revenue Board soon. I think that allows them, if they accept a digital payment at 8%, they cannot recover it from their input tax, but that's going to go soon. So then more restaurants would come in and follow that if you make a payment using any form of digital, the sales tax reduces to 8%. And then lastly in this category is cash on delivery remains still up to 70% of all e-commerce purchases. E-commerce industry in Pakistan is give and take now coming up to $5 billion, and 70% of that is cash on delivery. One reason of it being a cash on delivery is that it has embedded escrow service in it. So customers want this peace of mind that I'll pay when I receive. Once again, practitioners need to get innovative. Understand it, why customer is demanding cash on delivery. Okay, we can provide as many escrow services as we like, which is great. I think banks should come forward and other financial institutions should come forward and provide escrow service to them, to the consumer, so that they can make a prepayment. But even if the customer does not want to change their behavior and wish to pay upon delivery, then there must be methods of paying digitally upon delivery instead of cash upon delivery. Once again, my previous point about instant issuance at the point of sale and what the financial institutions can do, and there are methods available now to convert cash into digital instantly. Finally, my last two thoughts. One thing that financial institutions have also done well are in the area of coding, right? That's an asset that financial institutions now have, and is fairly sophisticated, more sophisticated than many of the freelancers who individually are working on Upworks and Fiverr. So financial institutions need to recognize that. An average financial institution employs between 100 to 200 odd good full stack coders, developers, QA experts, integration people. So that's one value. And I'll tell you why am I telling these values. The second is very sophisticated call centers. They're more sophisticated than the call centers being operated out of homes. And the third one is very sophisticated back office operations, where the operations are doing reconciliations and settlements for trillions of rupees on an overnight basis and matching it to the T. These three assets financial institutions need to recognize and make it marketable so that they can earn money from it from the international customers, white label basis, software as a service basis, as long as that remains within the context of financial services. So with that, once again, so in summary, I think these 9 or 10 odd points that I've talked about is in context of how can we reduce that high level of almost 30% of the total printed cash by the central bank, which is over 10 trillion rupees. How can we reduce that cash in circulation from the practitioner's view? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Truly insightful observations, and definitely things we should all pick on and consider, ponder upon, and see how we can move forward. Trying to make these small improvements will definitely help the economy turning from cash rich to cashless. Now, next, we would like to invite Mr. Habib Hanna, who's the Vice President and MD of MD Middle East and South and Africa at Diebold Nixdorf. Tfadal.
Thank you. I'll take a shortcut. I don't have to go from the other side. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's becoming a tradition to see you at least once a year in this great event. And let me tell you, Yahya, it's a great presentation. We never did any practice together, but my presentation is going to be basically what Yahya ended is how can we reduce cash in circulation in the country. That was the closing statement. And that is the opening of my presentation, because today, Pakistan has an amazing opportunity not only to digitize every single transaction that you have in the country, but also to drive efficiency along all the long tails of cash. And while everyone is driving toward what we call cash-light organizations, not cashless organizations, and the difference is cash will exist, it will go down. However, the elements to manage and automate the cash cycle will still be. So the best way for you to be able to automate and drive efficiencies around cash, reduce cash in circulation, so you are able as a nation to also tackle the fact of inflation and the use of banknotes across the entire country. And this is going to be what I would call the next phase of recycling. And I mentioned amazing opportunities for Pakistan, so I'll cover it for you in a while. And it's not only in this place, but also globally. Couple of data points that I would probably think that many of you will see very impressive or interesting, I would say. So first of all, while cash is in decline, and that's the fact, and this is the reason because emerging cash payment are being replaced by digital payments, and the ability for merchants, for retailers, for point of acceptance to be able to digitize those transactions, cash is still being one of the preferred methods of payment for different consumers. And while we as organizations, as enterprises, as banks, as financial institutions strive towards innovation, the only important factor for us is customer preference, consumer preference. So I tell you, I'm coming from Dubai. Today is a Monday, so yesterday was the weekend. We were in one of the biggest shopping malls, and I wanted to go just quickly get some of the transactions, which, by the way, not a cash out, cash in. So I wanted to do a couple of transactions, some utility payment. I had to do one deposit for one of my translators that is doing some basically work for my son in Spain. And I had to wait 12 minutes to be able to get into a cash deposit unit in one of the malls. And by the way, I invite you, whenever you go there, just monitor how the number of basically transactions or people standing in queues still till today to be able to access a cash deposit function unit. Now, while this could be inversely proportionate to the number of electronic payment that is emerging, the fact that consumers are still tending to go and do some physical interactions is still there. So, and recently, and this is one of the basically studies that we've done, 57% of consumers are still visiting a branch at least once per month. Now, there has to be a reason why they would go to a branch. And there has to be a reason or a drive for institution to be able to digitize the transactions needed for that one-time visit per month. So that one-time visit per month could be one-time visit per year. Until that time happens, cash is still being in circulation. And yes, 5% of people will stop using cash. But that's not a huge number. That's not a huge percentage for you to look at what should be the priorities for me today. And the priorities is really to be able to look at a full end-to-end automation of cash, and recycling is definitely the answer. And as I mentioned, Pakistan has a great opportunity to embark on this. Now, a couple of other data points. Definitely pandemic has helped a lot of digital initiatives, digitalization, transformation, which a lot of us have struggled, pre-pandemic. So this is a fact. And definitely cash in circulation, usage, etc., have dropped because people were not able to go physically to different locations. Now, guess what? Pandemic is over. Online continued. Offline emerged even more. So, and I look to you and I tell you, during pandemic, probably I did something I've never done before. I bought an 85-inch TV online. Of course, I consulted with Usama, who's my tech advisor, to be able to know which basically TV I should take. But let me tell you, pre-pandemic, I would have never done that. I would go, I need to smell the TV, look at it, cross-function, etc. Would I do it today? Could be, yeah, because I've done it. I saw the experience. It was okay. They came and they installed it, etc. But the point is, we always refer to our previous patterns and preferences. So if you look at it today, online shopping, retailing, etc., is still ongoing, but you go also to offline, to on-site, to physical shops, and it's still ongoing. So the point is, and the answer is definitely in the consumer's choice, which is not something we can mandate. No matter how much we talk about digital innovation, technology, drivers, benefits, advantages, if we're not able to get into the mind share and the heart share of the consumer with proper services that are relevant and enjoyable in terms of experiences, we'll never be able to get into that leap into the automation. Now, again, from cash perspective, one of the studies that was done by YouGov, which is an independent organization, and they asked a very basic question, very simple question, and I urge also the banks here probably or the institutions to do it. Would you actually sign up with me as a financial institution if I don't offer you cash services? And the answers were, in my opinion, expected. Some other views probably shocking, but at least 75 to 80% across the globe said no. If you don't have cash, we are not going to be part of your financial institution. I'll give you an example from the UAE, basically from where we come. So in UAE, there was a bank, Al Mariya Bank, which was established as a 100% digital bank. It was supposed to be a 100% digital bank. No branches, no physical outlets, nothing conventional in terms of banking. It's a 100% licensed digital bank. And what happened when they actually went into the market, they have seen a need for consumers to have access to cash. They have seen a need for consumers to be able to get a plastic, a credit card, a debit card, etc. And they don't have the branches. So the replacement of that, which Usama is going to cover in his subsequent presentation, is that they were actually going into digital cash point without having the need of a physical branch. And those are basically what we are covering today. Part of it is recycling. The ability for you to be able to dispense cash and accept cash from the same device without having to go into the entire circle of cash circulation, that's an amazing, amazing opportunity. And another data point which actually illustrates that fact, if you look worldwide, yes, the ATM transactions in terms of dispense, the need of cash is going down. But guess what? The transactions to deposit cash is going up. And this is a factual. And the percentage of dispense to deposit is going at probably 2 to 1. And even from a shipment perspective, which we will also cover later on, is also going in that same direction. So what is the value of cash recycling? What is cash recycling? In very simple terms, ability for you to automate and circulate cash between people who wants to deposit and people who wants to withdraw, without having to have third parties in circulation in between, what we call the cash in transit, the custodians, the movement of cash, and the ability for you to be able to automate in a very, very seamless way all the transactions, whether it's an in or out, in the same function. So if you think of it in a very simple advantage terms, efficiency is huge because you're able to reduce all the costs of movement. Cost of cash is big. So think of how much of cash you have in probably ATMs, which are not being used and sitting there, but you still need it because someone could come in and depending on number of transactions. And think of the number of cash that could be deposited, which could actually offload those number of transactions. Immediately big savings. You know, the speed in terms of number of transactions, how you are able also to personalize transactions on the recyclers itself, how you're able to have a sustainable service that is ongoing because simply the actual recycler will always have cash in and cash out and is able to serve in that possibility and higher availability. And now if you go into, because everyone in the financial institution, you are there for business. I mean, there are always 3 drivers for any financial institution. And yes, there are national initiatives, CSRs, definitely extremely important, but from a business driver, financial institution, either they would like to create revenue streams, or they would like to strive for cost optimization to be able to do margin expansions, or in that perspective, they want to deliver a better customer service to your clients. So customer satisfaction, customer delight is also a major driver for any financial institution. Those 3 are actually met through the value of cash recycling. Because if you look at the savings that you will have from the actual costs around the cash in circulation, if you look at how you are able to repurpose your teller to become sellers as opposed to become an administrative agents who are just handling cash in and out, and leave technology to be able to handle those cash automation and get your tellers to become advisors for your customers to have more meaningful interactions around products, loans, insurances, life coverages, etc. for your customers. And again, we've mentioned the cash handling, the cost of cash is huge. If you look at the interest that you are actually losing because of putting cash that is unused, if you look at the insurance that you need to have because of cash, if you are able to optimize those usage of cash in places where you are able to recirculate it without the need of creating additional banknotes, and Yahya was mentioning the huge number of basically probably cash that should be managed, printed, basically going from the central bank. This is a huge, huge, huge advantage from a recycling perspective. Now, a very quick example simulation which we could run on a specific financial institution. This is just a generic example where we can show in actual numbers the huge savings that you can have between traditional standard ATM to an actual recycler. And the actual savings is somehow between 65 to 75%. And if you optimize even more in terms of what we call optimized denomination, that savings could jump to around 84%. Huge savings. So while cash and the drive is to have less cash usage, you still need to manage, and you have a cost ecosystem you have to maintain. The best way to be able to do is that optimize that cost ecosystem so that you are more efficient, but at the same time delivering those services to your customers. And why it's very important to start today, and this is why the best way is to show you a couple of examples. The world is moving toward recycling. So today, if you ask what is the biggest phase or transformation of self-service today, it is recycling. Numbers are very impressive. I mean, in Latin America, 248% from 2019 to 2024. Middle East and Africa, where we are there, 87%. This is a huge, huge adoption. The other one, which I probably hope that next time we'll have Pakistan on this chart, number of countries which have embarked on cash recycling because they have seen the advantages. In my region, recently was Saudi Arabia, which is one of the biggest countries, which is, by the way, driving to specifically, they call it cashless society by 2030. Recycling is an ecosystem. It's a very important ecosystem in their drive toward cash management, cash light, cashless society that they're driving. UAE, Egypt. Egypt is a huge user of recycling. And let me tell you, great analogies as well between Egypt and Pakistan. The use of denominations or notes, or basically the quality of notes, very much similar. And we are very basically fortunate today because the technology that exists today enable you to be able to use recycling regardless of the actual nature of use of cash in the country. And the AI-driven mechanics which we have in our systems is also allowing you. And this is, by the way, the only slide I have in terms of products for Diebold Nixdorf. I cannot resist the fact that in front of your audience, display our technology. But the reason I'm putting this is because it's extremely important to pick up, once you look at recycling, what technology do I need to implement when it comes to recycling? You need to have a technology provider who owns the technology of recycling. As Diebold Nixdorf, we actually have the IP of recycling. And the reason is because we need to make sure it's optimized for every single country that we are operating in. And Pakistan is definitely one of the region which is high impact, high focus for us. And we look forward to see this in place. So eventually, and this is the last note that I have, it is now, yes, I know the theme of the event is the future of banking, but future of banking is now. Recycling is available. It's the best way for you to have as one ecosystem into digitizing Pakistan, not only as a national economy, but a global showcase in that perspective. So thank you very much, and great to see you today.
Thank you, Habib. Thank you for the great, insightful information and product knowledge that you've provided. We will use all of this and in future to see how best we can coordinate and make use of the technology which Diebold has to offer. Now, I'd like to invite Ms. Carmine Gaband from GASIC Devrant, who would be presenting her giving her presentation on the relevance of cash in the digital economy. Please help me invite Ms. Carmine Graben. She was here a little while back. Yes. Okay. She's just getting wired up. Okay.
Hello? Ah, okay. Okay. You have it? Good morning.
Are you good?
Presentation should be there in a moment.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
We'll leave it.
Ah, no. I use the time and quickly introduce myself. So my name is Kamine Grabant. I'm actually very first time in Pakistan, and I'm very grateful for the chance to present to you at this very important conference here. And while the colleagues are looking for the presentation, obviously, now I think they found it. The topic that I'm presenting today is the relevance of cash in a digital economy. And Habib already mentioned his convincement that cash is going to stay here. There is globally a lot of people who think differently and say cash will die quite soon. And I brought with me some good reasons why this is not the case and will not be the case. So I see the presentation there, but obviously you cannot see it right now, sorry. Okay. Good, then I probably introduce you what I prepared for today. Now it's coming. I guess so. Yes, here we are. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And it doesn't work. It works. So today I quickly wanted to introduce you to G&D, because I think it's also important to understand that when I come to the conclusions about the role of cash today and the challenges of the cash cycles. Some of them have been already introduced from the retail side, from the supplier side of ATM. But I wanted to also touch on how digitalization can increase your efficiency in the banking area, in the branches as well as in the cash centers. So who is G&D? G&D is a family-owned company which makes the lives of billions of people more secure. How we do that, I come to that in a minute. The company is more than 170 years old, and in our DNA is innovation from the very beginning, be it in banknote printing, be it in inventing SIM cards, eSIM cards, inventing also the very first central bank digital currency, which is a topic which is quite famous at this point. And how do we do that today? So we have three pillars. One is digital security, another one is financial platforms, where you probably also know us from, and currency technology. Digital security is to protect and manage confidential systems, networks, data, and identities. That means we do everything around IoT. We do passports in identity technology, driver's licenses, etc., and digital infrastructure. The second pillar is software for commercial banks, for financing, and payment technologies like payment cards, debit card, credit cards, etc. And the area that I'm representing is currency technology. And in this, we are doing everything from banknote creation, design, in banknote solutions, in currency management. We do everything which is needed for keeping the banknote in the cash cycle. And a new area, digital currency ecosystem, which is the central bank digital currency. So the company is 3 billion euro big. Let's just move ahead, and really we shape trust in the digital age. And now comes the contradiction: why cash? What is the role of cash today? You probably heard about Sweden, which was supposed to be the very first country to go cashless. You see some articles here from 8-9 years back, and you see the banknotes in circulation going down. But if that were the global trend, why would we talk longer about cash? So then it would be just a matter of time when cash would disappear. Cash is not only an important means of payment, it's different. It's very different to other means of payment. It's tangible. You have an overview and control of spendings. It's anonym, trustworthy. The transaction is immediately completed. It's inclusive. It's also a store of value. Security and resilience role, and I come to that in more detail. Also, a big advantage is no power is required. So cash is important for the society, specifically when you have infrastructure breakdowns. It's not necessarily always flooding like this. We all face the risk that hackers attack the power network, the grids. But here for this flooding, I have also a picture here from innovative service engineer going to the ATM after flooding to bring it alive again. Very important, when there is breakdowns, then cash is the one mean of payment. It's also having a stabilizing role in crisis, because if there would be no possibility for a consumer to pay his goods, there would be immediately anarchy. And it has an inclusive role. Inclusive not only for the senior people, but also for the unbanked people. I just learned in Pakistan there is still 50% unbanked people, around 50%. But you see that also in other countries like US, 6%, European Union, 4%. So without cash, there would be not such inclusion. So you see here some graphs about cash in circulation. And you see some peaks. And these peaks are global crisis. So whenever there is global crisis, the cash in circulation goes up because the central banks have this role to protect it. And central banks are more and more taking responsibility and action to keep cash alive. And the problem is, if cash is not in circulation, how would it really work as a resilience lever if it's not in circulation? So there must be a certain level of cash in circulation to really act as a resilience matter. So, and cash is still growing globally. That's just two graphs from big currencies. Cash in circulation continues to grow for other reasons as well. It's very much linked to GDP growth. And as long as GDP is growing, all means of payment are growing. Same goes with the population growth. Same goes for inflation. And of course, also if central banks take measures to promote resilience, then this is as well important. I just have here some numbers for Pakistan. It's all, by the way, International Monetary Fund numbers. So the Pakistani population grows with 2%, so there is significant growth per year. And also inflation, even if that is more in line with the global development, it's still 6% in a 5 years period prognosis. So cash will continue. On the one hand side, it's growing in many areas. On the other hand side, it will stay as a resilience measure as well. when you look at the cash cycle, a functioning cash cycle is essential for the economy and the society. We see 4 major challenges today. So we have a cash paradox, we have cash in circulation growing, we have on the other hand side countries and regions where the cash in transaction is going down, like Habib also mentioned. We have multiple crises, we have rising costs, and in cash processing, roughly 2/3 of the costs are fixed cost. And we have a climate change. So given the time, and I'm actually surprised I've only one, okay. Let's see, I was supposed to be 20 minutes here. I wanted to touch on the rising cost here. And, oh no, I need to go back. So there is countermeasures to everything, but today I really want to focus on efficiency and how the digitalization plays into that. So the commercial banks are the ones who give the consumer the cash that he is then spending in retail for his daily goods and more. For the branches, there's significant challenges like secure and fast value and authenticity detection in the front office. We have quality sorting in the back office. Very important, managing cash availability, and overall lowering costs of cash, clear. For those of you who are running cash centers, it's similar. So secure banknote detection is clear. You have then more a challenge to balance high efficiency in the cash center operation with the needed flexibility. You also need to manage cash availability and ensure a secure operation. And again, costs are crucial. So for bank branches, you have a lot of machines. The question is how then digitalization, and that is the question here, can help you to become more efficient. Today, I can say it globally, of course, ATM, and it's great because it's no area where we are playing in, that is from the very beginning online connected. But when you look at counting devices, sorting devices, it's not connected, these machines. But whenever there is any change of software, you need to have a service engineer on site. So to connect the machines and upload software or download reports, consolidate reports, will bring in much more efficiency. Same goes for the forecasting, not only for the ATM, but also for the branch cash that you need. Good. And for the sake of time, I just wanted to mention here, G&T is also not only working in the hardware area, where some of you or many of you may know us from the machines that you saw and that you also partly can see in the exhibition later. We are also working on software solutions like Compass Asset Manager, with which you can do all these things, upload software, download reports, etc. And you can manage, and you see here just a screenshot of how you see your fleet of machines. Then forecasting, of course, is also very important. Just a question, do I have another 3-4 minutes? Okay, thank you. Compass forecasting is also a tool that will help you not only to forecast cash devices, but also everything that you need in your branch. And I just go through that one here in detail. Then there is also a connection between a bank branch and a cash center. And if the cash center is running cash management software, you could send via web interface, deposit pre-announcements, and place your orders. Also a very important way to drive efficiency for the branch and the cash center in this case. So when it comes to cash centers, we deliver solution a solution portfolio that really helps you to become more efficiency. And I learned that you have a lot of, that you currently have high inflation. And that means every year you get, even if I only take the 6% more banknotes in your cash center. So you need to really drive efficiency. Otherwise, you end up and have rising costs. And in some other countries, I know that it's sometimes even the case that the space in the vaults are not enough if there is too much money then coming. So what are the areas to drive cash center efficiency? It's automation and it is digitalization. Automation, all sorts of processing machines, packaging machines. Then the second area, intralogistic and digitalization. This is the solution portfolio, and I cannot go now into the details. I can only encourage you to meet me at the booth, and we can go into the details, but really a completely comprehensive portfolio of solutions that allow an end-to-end efficiency gain in the cash center. We do also cash room consultancy in detail, so where we send an expert, see the operation and design a new process end-to-end. For the cash center, of course, there's also very specialized software products, which I also don't go into the details, but it's really important to manage a cash center with software because you gain so much efficiency, you avoid some recounts, you can also avoid by proper processes to have too many hands on cash, which is always a problem. And then, yeah, with this, I'm coming to the summary. No, yeah, it works. So we believe all means of payment will stay for a long time in parallel. So that you see the means of payments, so they will coexist. And you saw there's good reasons from central banks to still support cash. And they do that actively to avoid that it's falling below a critical mass. On the other hand side, there is so much possibilities in such a cash-rich country like Pakistan to drive efficiency, to lower your cost. And digitalization and automation are the levers to do so. So my question then is how can we help you to make your cash processing more efficient? So I only can invite you to discuss that not only with us being here today, but with our partners from Innovative in the course of the next weeks and months. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kamin. Next, we would like to invite Mr. Humayun Sajjad, who is the CEO of Mashriq Bank, and he will deliver his speech on Pakistan's journey to a cashless economy.
Thank you, Imran. Yeah. Almost 2 months ago, I got terribly ill. At first, I thought it was just a fever, but then it got worse. I consulted 3 doctors, they're good friends, and I reached out to them primarily on WhatsApp. They advised me to stay on Panadol until you get your blood test results. In parallel, I started researching on the ChatGPT by providing my condition, learning and debating what to do, what to eat, and how to avoid infection from spreading. The blood test results came in few hours, which I downloaded from a web link in SMS. And I shared the results in PDF format with the doctors on WhatsApp. The doctor advised the antibiotics, which I immediately started taking. Meanwhile, I also uploaded the test results onto ChatGPT, which gave me an analysis similar to doctors, but it added a lot of value by giving me information based on my input and queries. Unlike doctors, AI assistants do not get tired or frustrated by unlimited number of questions that we have from our doctors. It took me a few days to recover, and alhamdulillah, I was able to manage it well with diet, sleep, care, and medication, mostly guided by ChatGPT and validated by doctors. Few weeks later, my wife showed similar symptoms. My immediate reaction to her was, take the same medication that was prescribed to me. However, she decided to consult doctors. In parallel to the doctors, I consulted ChatGPT, which advised me not to draw the same conclusion, but rather wait for the blood test results to come. Alhamdulillah, she recovered much quicker since her illness turned out to be different. The medical consultation process that I just shared became a new normal for me. But like they say, don't try this at home. I'm just sharing my personal story. Honorable Executive Director, State Bank of Pakistan, Syed Suhail Jawad Saab, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests. It is a great privilege and an honor to stand before you today. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. I'm excited to discuss the topic so close to my heart, building a digital economy and Mashriq's role in Pakistan's financial evolution. The personal story that I shared demonstrate how our lives are evolving with the evolution of digital in our lives. Now let's take a sneak peek into the future. In near future, most of us will have their personalized AI assistants. And that will help us to interact, for example, with bank's AI assistant, or for that matter, any other AI interaction. So the overall experience will be highly targeted and highly contextual. It seems the smart glasses with mixed reality will be the next wave of consumer electronics, as it will become part of our day-to-day life. I'm referring to the recent smart glasses launched by Meta, Mark Zuckerberg. Such glasses will offer highly contextualized, in-the-moment decision-making compared to opening an app on your mobile phone. In case of banking, the glasses will be calling the banking APIs to help you make decisions. Digital and mobile phones have brought 1.5 billion people into the financial fold in the last 10 years. But 500 years before that, we were able to bring half of world's population into the banking fold, while rest half of remained excluded. Now let me turn your attention to global examples where digitization and financial inclusion has contributed to countries' GDP. Brazil, according to World Bank, McKinsey, and Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, in the last 5 years, more than 50 million new bank accounts have been opened in Brazil, primarily by platforms like Nubank and real-time payments PICs. SME digitization and financial inclusion contributed between 1.5 to 2% to the country's GDP, and overall financial inclusion and digitization resulted in 3 to 3.5% appreciation in the GDP per annum. Let me talk about Indonesia. World Bank, McKinsey, and Global Findex reported that in Indonesia, programs like Laku Pandai have improved financial inclusion in rural Indonesia. Global Findex data nearly shows that the 20% increase in financial inclusion happened in the last 10 years. The SME digitization and financial inclusion contributed 1.5 to 2% to GDP, whereas overall digitization and financial inclusion in Indonesia in the last 5 years resulted in 3 to 4% positive growth to GDP per annum. Similarly, in India, the overall digitization and financial inclusion resulted in 4 to 6% positive contribution. SME specifically resulted in 2 to 3%. And for Bangladesh, overall 3 to 4.5%, and SME contribution 2 to 2.5%. Keeping all of this in view, let's take a look at opportunities in Pakistan. The strides in the right policy direction made over the last 2 years have helped Pakistan with significant macroeconomic improvements. Pakistan today is witnessing a promising place of economic turnaround thanks to Ministry of Finance and the State Bank of Pakistan. But the real challenge for us today is to move beyond the renewed stability and focus on strategic efforts for sustained economic growth. Growth that benefits the broader spectrum of Pakistani society in a fair and inclusive manner. As leaders in Pakistan's banking industry, we are in a pivotal position of great responsibility to help our country leverage opportunities to enable broader access to financial services and drive sustained economic participation. According to recent GSMA report released in August 2024, 81% of Pakistan's adult population today resides in areas with 3G and 4G networks, compared to just 15% in 2010. And by the end of 2023, 63% of the population in Pakistan owned a smartphone. Looking at the potential of entrepreneurs and SMEs in Pakistan, it is worth sharing a story of Blue Bottle Coffee, a success story and a case study from the Square in US, one of my favorite examples that I keep quoting in similar events. Typically, the businesses in US, and for that matter, any other market, operate on a cash-only basis, under-reporting income and avoiding taxes. The SMEs always want to avoid complexity of bookkeeping, believing it keeps the business simpler and profitable. Blue Bottle Coffee, a specialty coffee roaster and retailer that was founded in 2002 in Oakland, California by James Freeman. Initially, Blue Bottle operated like a small local business selling freshly roasted coffee beans at farmers market. But after embracing digital solution like Square's platform, the Blue Bottle Coffee started accepting card payments, track sales data, manage inventory, monitor performance across multiple locations, offering digital receipts, managing customer feedback and loyalty, simplified payroll processing, and get access to capital using Square Capital. In 2017, Nestle acquired a majority stake, 68%, in blue bottle coffee for an estimated value of $425 million. Digitization and financial inclusion of customers, SME, and the ecosystem results in increased access to markets for new customers and online presence. I remember offering sweets from Faisalabad online because the ad keeps on popping on my Instagram. There is improved efficiency and productivity, enhanced access to finance, transparency, and better record keeping, customer convenience, and growth. This leads to a transition from informal to formal economy, tax inclusion, economic growth, and we have several case studies to learn from. But it takes time and patience. Developing nations, for example, Brazil and Indonesia, have successfully capitalized on such opportunities through their breakthrough in digital banking, which have disrupted the traditional financial sector. Pakistan has tremendous opportunity, an opportunity to leverage the digitalization of financial services as a game changer for our country. Around 36 to 38% of Pakistan's GDP comes from informal business sector, which includes SMEs and that often lack access to formal financial services. Formalizing this sector through digitization and bringing them into the financial fold can unlock untapped potential. According to World Bank, World Economic Forum, Global Findex, and McKinsey study, Pakistan has the following opportunities. Financial inclusion expansion will result in 3 to 4% of GDP growth annually. SME digitization and financial inclusion, 2 to 3% GDP growth annually. Informal economy formalization, 1.5 to 2% growth annually, provided proper government support, industry interventions. Overall GDP growth in the next 4 to 6 years will be between 4 to 6% in Pakistan. Now, let me share how Mashriq is going to contribute to Pakistan's financial evolution. We are MENA region's leading financial institution with roots deeply embedded into innovation. It is quite clear innovation combined with our agile operating model has enabled Mashriq to achieve unprecedented transformation and tangible growth for our stakeholders and ecosystem across the globe. Today, Mashriq stands as the beacon of trust and innovation among international financial institutions. We have made our mark in 14 countries, not just by offering services, but by creating banking experiences that embrace everyone from individual customers to entrepreneurs, small and large businesses, simplifying their journeys to financial progress. In 2024, Brand Finance recognized Mashriq as the strongest digital banking brand in UAE. The dedication to innovation means always staying ahead of technologies. Our focus on delivering unparalleled customer experience has led to the venture into open banking, paving the way for highly personalized, real-time, and safe financial interactions. We are also leveraging cloud computing to help scale the digital ecosystem through partnerships, bringing operational agility and scalability. This forward-thinking approach has made banking intuitive and given us recognition as the best digital bank for many years. Our advanced digital capabilities have set benchmark in the global Islamic banking industry, and we are excited to bring the same level of excellence to Pakistan. As a trusted international digital leader, Mashriq brings with it a rich legacy of innovation and profound commitment to enabling Pakistan's future growth. We are committed to bringing several of Mashriq's global award-winning solutions to Pakistan. Mashriq's entry to Pakistan is not just an expansion. It is a commitment to being part of Pakistan's growth story, leveraging its international expertise to offer unmatched banking experience in sophistication, reliability, and customer focus. In the end, I am optimistic and a believer in our nation's potential. With a vibrant ecosystem and a committed banking sector and supporting regulator, Pakistan is poised to leapfrog into the digital age, opening doors to a financial limitless possibilities. Digital Pakistan is not just an economic aspiration. It is a social imperative. It is about empowering people, boosting entrepreneurship, and a fair, more inclusive society. With dedication, collaboration, and a shared vision for a bright future, we can transform the traditional banking experience into one that is seamless, convenient, and accessible to everyone. My vision as a Pakistani and CEO of Mashriq Pakistan is to bring Mashriq's global capabilities to Pakistan, catalyzing our country's future growth. Let us all envision a future where every Pakistani enjoys financial well-being and every Pakistani is genuinely empowered. Thank you.
बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you, Humayun. Now I'd like to, without further ado, invite the Executive Director from the State Bank, Mr. Suhail Javed, to please be here on stage with us and share with us his views.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And good morning to all our guests as well. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I would like to thank Total Communications for organizing this wonderful gathering. It gives us an opportunity to share experiences and listen to each other. Some apologies to my foreign guest. I'll be switching between Urdu and English, so I hope that's okay. But I do have slides, and I am sure that those slides will help you understand and grasp an understanding of what I'm trying to communicate. तो आज की इसमें कुछ पॉइंट्स मैं सोच रहा था कि क्या बात की जाए आप लोगों से, क्योंकि मेरी गुफ्तगू तो हमेशा एक जैसी होती है कि जी कैश बहुत ज़्यादा है और डिजिटल बहुत कम है और क्या क्या काम हमने किए, और वही मायूसी का इजहार होता है और वही कुछ उम्मीद की कोशिश होती है कि कुछ उम्मीद बेहतर है. तो आज भी मोर और लेस वही है ट्रेंड. और लेकिन आज सुबह when I came to office in the morning and I saw the newspaper, the headline was that the finance minister has said that the government is going to wage a war on cash. And probably this was the first time that a very high level and high ranking official in the government of Pakistan ever said such a thing. Waging the war on cash. I am sure this might not be a good news for you, but I mean the war on cash is going to be there. But I think still we are very far from that. तो ये सबको मालूम है पाकिस्तान की, this is the digital environment, and I think during the past 10 years what we have achieved is कि हमारा जो payment processing infrastructure है, that has strengthened a lot. We have seen the emergence of PSPs, PSOs, EMIs. They're doing a good job, and I'll show you the numbers as well. And then we've got banks, and we've got institutions like OneLink and NIFT and PayFast and VRGs who are doing a wonderful job. Pakistan is probably one of those very few countries which has two retail payment systems. One is operated by OneLink and the other by State Bank, which is based on ISO 20022. RAST, everybody knows about it. So I am sure that this is an achievement that we can celebrate. Some numbers, so a lot of numbers. And I think what has happened during the past few years is that we have got about 88 million unique depositors, people or corporates who've got bank accounts. And out of them, there are about 203 million accounts. We've got 59 million users of digital wallets that are mostly offered by branchless banks, which is a big number. Of course, not all of them are active, but many are. 19 million are mobile banking users, app users. Last year, this number was somewhere around 17 million. So I think we now have about 2 more additional million users. And all these numbers would be, this is like an advanced peak, because this week we'll be issuing our annual payment systems review. So all these numbers and much more would be there. So you can see those numbers there. And then we have got 12 million internet banking users and a very encouraging 3.7 million users of EMIs. So there are 4 EMIs. And I'm very happy to see that those electronic money institutions are shaping up pretty well. They're shaping pretty well themselves. One of them was acquired by a large EMI in Turkey this year. The other one, Neape, is doing a good job in digitizing certain retail use cases. The third one, Akhtarfew, is actually working on agri-tech, which is again encouraging. And we have quite a few EMIs that are in pipeline. Of course, the State Bank is always takes time to process those applications, but very soon you will be seeing some additional EMIs also. The EMIs are good. They are offering a good user experience. Young kids are using them, their wallets, and it's very encouraging, and you can see the numbers. Although the base is smaller, but 82% is a good number. And the last number, so we have got about over 500,000 merchants. This number was near to zero, I think, a couple of years ago. But QR wallets, QRs are being implemented mostly by our branchless banks. One of the banks is doing a good job in that area, and that number is increasing. Inshallah, we are targeting to reach the number of 1 million by the end of this year. Achha, here is the good news. The good news is that 84% of our retail transactions are done digitally in Pakistan. So the transactions जो बैंक अकाउंट्स के थ्रू होती हैं उसमें से 84% in terms of number they are done digitally, and only 16% are OTC. तो आप numbers calculate कर सकते हैं. 6.3 बिलियन ट्रांजेक्शन्स हुई हैं इस साल में तकरीबन, जो उससे आप रेशो निकाल सकते हैं और फिर उसका ब्रेकअप भी आप देख सकते हैं. और आप ये भी देख सकते हैं कि सिंस द पैंडमिक FY20 से लेकर अब तक तकरीबन 30% का इंक्रीज़ हुआ है विद इन द नंबर ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन्स दैट आर बीइंग डन डिजिटली यूजिंग डिफरेंट चैनल्स. बट देन दिस इज़ द बैड न्यूज़. वही है, बट इट्स रिवर्स. This is in terms of cash, in terms of not just cash, in terms of non-digital transactions by value. तो हमारे पास 546 ट्रिलियन रुपीस की ट्रांजेक्शन्स हुई हैं ड्यूरिंग द पास्ट ईयर. ये अप्रॉक्सीमेट नंबर्स हैं, फाइनल इस वीक आ जाएगा. उसमें से 83% ओवर द काउंटर हैं, यानी बैंक्स की ब्रांचेस के ऊपर ये ट्रांजेक्शन्स जो हुई हैं यूजिंग कैश और चेक, it's still 83%. And digital is just 17%. तो वो जो 84% था, in terms of rupee value, that's just 17%. So my friends don't have to worry. Cash is not going anywhere. It seems to be here and it seems to be staying here for quite some time. और आप share भी देख सकते हैं. Although we have increased from 6% to 17%, but it's very discouraging. It's very discouraging. हमारी इकोनॉमी अभी भी कैश पे चल रही है और हमारी جو ریٹیل سائڈ ہے, جو چھوٹی ٹرانزیکشن کرنے والے لوگ ہیں, وہ تو ڈیجیٹل پہ آ رہے ہیں, لیکن جو بڑی ٹرانزیکشنز اور بڑی ویلیو کے ٹرانزیکشنز ہیں وہ نہیں آ رہی ہیں ڈیجیٹل پہ. اینڈ دیٹ از سم تھنگ which I think everybody, including the governments, both the federal and provincial governments and state bank, are extremely concerned about. تھوڑا سا ٹرینڈس کو دیکھ لیتے ہیں. آف کورس ہماری ڈیجیٹل ٹرانزیکشنس میں جو ٹرینڈس ہیں, فنڈ ٹرانسفرس. اچھا, فنڈ ٹرانسفرس جو ہیں یعنی ایک دوسرے کو پیسے دینا, آف کورس وہ سب سے بڑا یوز کیس ہے, بوتھ ڈیجیٹلی بھی, اور اگر آپ ہماری رپورٹ میں دیکھیں گے تو ویلیو بائی ویلیو بھی فنڈ ٹرانسفر از دی بگیسٹ یوز کیس. ہم ہمیشہ سے بل پیمنٹس میں پاکستان از ون آف دوز کنٹریز جنہوں نے بل پیمنٹس اور موبائل ٹاپ اپس کو ڈیجیٹل کیا ہے, تو دس نمبر از آلسو از انکریجنگ. پی او ایس کے اوپر پوائنٹ آف سیل پہ جو ٹرانزیکشنز ہوئی ہیں یوزنگ کارڈس, اس کا نمبر بھی آپ کے سامنے, اس میں بھی کافی انکریز ہوا ہے. لیکن آئی تھنک جو ای کامرس میں انکریز آ رہا ہے دیٹ از ہیلدی, اور اس سے امید بھی ہے. اینڈ آئی تھنک دیٹس ویئر دی کرکس لائز. ہاؤ کین وی میک آر بزنسز گو آن لائن؟ یہ پرابلم اسٹیٹمنٹ ہے. بزنسز کو آن لائن کیسے کیا جائے, اور ناٹ جسٹ سیلز اینڈ آل, بلکہ ان کی اپنی بی ٹو بی کی ٹرانزیکشنز بھی ہیں یا بی ٹو سی ہیں. گورنمنٹ از ایگریسو آن دس. گورنمنٹ کی اپنی اس وقت ہم جو اسلام آباد کی آئی تھنک 90% جو فیڈرل کیپٹل کی سیلریز ہیں وہ راس پہ پروسیس کر رہے ہیں, سیلریز اینڈ وینڈر پیمنٹس. بلکہ اب لاسٹ منتھ ہم نے جو ان کی فیڈرل گورنمنٹ کی جو سیلریز کراچی سے پروسیس ہوتی ہیں وہ بھی ہم راس پہ لے آئے ہیں. انشاءاللہ نیکسٹ منتھ پنجاب کو بھی ہم لے جائیں گے, ان کے پی اینڈ دی ادرس جو اے جی پی آر کی سیلریز ہیں. اینڈ گورنمنٹ از ویری کین آن ڈیجیٹائزنگ دیئر پیمنٹس, اور وہ اس میں ہم کریں گے. لیکن پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کو اب ہوش کے ناخن بھی لینے ہوں گے اور تھوڑا سا جاگنا بھی ہوگا, اور وہ بینکس جو اس پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کو سرو کرتے ہیں, جو اپنے کارپوریٹ کسٹمرز کو سرو کرتے ہیں, آئی تھنک دے ول ہیو ٹو ری تھنک اباؤٹ دیئر بزنس ماڈلس. ٹھیک ہے, کیسے میں بھی آپ کو بتاتا ہوں. ان فیکٹ لیٹ می گو بیک, اور اگر آپ اس کو دیکھیں تو 448 ٹریلین برانچز میں پروسیس ہوا ہے روپیز میں. 448 ٹریلین لاسٹ ایئر ہماری برانچز میں پروسیس ہوا ہے. اس میں سے آؤٹ آف دس 100 ٹریلین واز یوزنگ کیش, کیش ودرالس, کیش ڈپازٹس, and the rest was of course using checks and other instruments جو ہوا ہے. Branch suits banks pretty well, I guess. I think branch suits banks. It allows banks to hold on to funds for 2 days or 3 days or whatever the time is. And banks makes money by holding on to funds. ہم چاہ رہے ہیں کہ بینکس فیسیلیٹیٹ کریں تاکہ کسٹمرز, بزنسز اپنی ٹرانزیکشنز کو ریئل ٹائم میں کریں. تو یہ کمپیٹنگ چیلنجز ہیں. ہاؤ کین وی میک اٹ ورک؟ ہم نے راست لگایا, اور راست سے آپ انسٹنٹلی پیمنٹ ریسیو کر سکتے ہیں, لیکن انسٹنٹلی پیمنٹ سینڈ کیسے کرنا ہے؟ ہاؤ کین وی کنونس آر بزنسز, آر پیئرس, آر بینکس ناٹ ٹو ہولڈ آن ٹو دا فنڈس؟ ٹھیک ہے, فلوٹ انکم از دی بگیسٹ پارٹ آف دا انکم, اس میں کوئی دو رائے نہیں ہے. 2 طرح کی انکم ہے. ایک فلوٹ انکم ہے دیٹ یو ارن بائی ہولڈنگ منی ان ٹو یور اکاؤنٹس فار اے سرٹن ٹائم پیریڈ, اینڈ دی ادر از فی انکم. اگر آپ فلوٹ انکم کو کم کریں گے تو فی انکم اوپر چلی جائے گی, آپ کی ٹرانزیکشنز مہنگی ہوں گی. ٹھیک ہے, تو یہ ایک کننڈرم ہے. دس از اے چیلنج. اس کو ہم کیسے کریں گے ابھی سوچتے ہیں اس پہ. اینڈ سملرلی یہ ایک ٹرانزیکشنز اینڈ ٹرینڈس کے لیے موبائل بینکنگ ایپس کا استعمال ہمارے ملک میں بہت بڑھ رہا ہے, اور اس کے ساتھ برانچ لیس بینکنگ ایپس. آئی تھنک یہ اب ایک پوائنٹ آ گیا ہے جس پہ, اور ان کی گروتھ ان ٹرمز آف پرسنٹیج شاید 2% زیادہ نہیں ہے, بٹ ان کا بیس بہت بڑا ہے. انٹرنیٹ بینکنگ بھی ہے, اور ای ایم آئیز. لیٹ سی ہاؤ ویل دے پرفارم ان ڈیجیٹائزنگ یوز کیسز. ای کامرس بھی اگین میں نے جیسے کہا کہ ہمارے پاس کیش آن ڈیلیوری آج سے اگر مجھ سے 5 سال یا 6 سال 7 سال پہلے پوچھتے تو کیش آن ڈلیوری بہت بڑا پارٹ تھا. لیکن اب ٹرانزیکشنز یوزنگ ایدر کارڈس اور ای والیٹس یہ بڑھ گئی ہیں. اس سال ایک ٹرینڈ جو ہم نے یہ دیکھا, اور یہ دو آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں, یہ جو آپ کو نظر آ رہے ہیں, یہ ایک ای کامرس کی ٹرانزیکشن جو FY23 اور 24 میں ہوئی ہیں بائی والیوم اینڈ بائی ویلیو, اور آپ دونوں میں دیکھیں کہ وہ ٹرانزیکشنز جو موبائل والیٹس یا ایپس سے ہوئی ہیں اس سال وہ زیادہ ہیں ایز کمپیئر ٹو کارڈ بیس ٹرانزیکشن سے. اس کا مطلب ہے کہ اب نہ صرف کسٹمرز بلکہ ہمارے جو سروس پرووائڈرز ہیں وہ بھی اس پہ اب آ رہے ہیں کہ ہمیں ایپس کے اوپر لے کے جانا ہے. اینڈ ود راس QR جو ہم نے ریسنٹلی لانچ کیا ہے, انشاءاللہ آئی ہوپ کہ دس ٹرینڈ ول انکریز. اور بینکس کے لیے ایک اپرچونٹی ہے, EMIs کے لیے, پیمنٹ کمپنیز کے لیے, ہماری ٹیک کمپنیز کے لیے یہ ایک اپرچونٹی ہے کہ کتنی کوئکلی دے کین ایکچولی گو اینڈ ڈیجیٹائز ای کامرس, کتنی کوئکلی اور کتنی ایفیشینٹلی وہ سولوشنس دیتے ہیں. دس از اے مارکیٹ دیٹس جسٹ اوپن, وائڈ اوپن. کیوں؟ کیونکہ ہماری ڈیجیٹل ای کامرس ابھی بھی ڈپینڈ کرتی ہے کارڈز کے اوپر, اور کارڈز جو انٹرنیشنل اسکیمز آفر کرتے ہیں وہ بڑا مہنگا پروپوزل ہے. جو لوگ اس میں کام کرتے ہیں انہیں پتہ ہے کہ دے کانٹ بریک ایون, اینڈ دس از فار دا فرسٹ ٹائم کہ ہم ایک فری آپ کو آلٹرنیٹ دے رہے ہیں جو ہم نے راس کی APIs دی ہیں کہ آپ ای کامرس اور آن لائن کو ڈیجیٹل کر لیں. تو دس از اگین این اپرچونٹی. تو چونکہ راس کی بات آئی ہے تو راس کا آپ کو بتا دیں کہ راست میں اس سال ہم نے آئی تھنک کوئی 11.5 اب شاید جو ایئر گزرا ہے جون میں 11.5 ٹریلین روپیز پروسیس کیے ہیں, اور کوئی آلموسٹ 496 ملین ٹرانزیکشنز اس پہ ہوئی ہیں, اور ڈیلی جو ہم کر رہے ہیں وہ آلموسٹ 1.8 ملین. اب یہ جون کی فگرز ہیں, اب ہمارے پاس 2.6 ملین پر ڈے ہو رہی ہیں. ہم نے جو فرسٹ ٹریلین روپیز راس پہ پروسیس کیے تھے وہ آپ دیکھیں 336 ڈیز لگے ہیں, اور آخری ٹریلین جو تھا وہ ہم نے جو پروسیس کیا ہے وہ 22 ڈیز میں کیا ہے. تو اڈاپشن is rapid, and it's alhamdulillah it's increasing, and I'm sure with payment systems like Rast and OneLink and PayFast and VRGs, I think we will be able to achieve something good. So what are the issues now with the numbers out of the way? So what are the issues? So of course, good news, cash is still the king in Pakistan. It's still the emperor. I don't know if it is good news or bad news. Certainly for economy it's bad news. But so cash is still the king. We have high currency in circulation, almost 9.3 trillion rupees. This is a big number which is in circulation. ہماری MSMEs, small and medium enterprises, ان کی ڈیجیٹائزیشن نہ ہونے کے برابر ہے. اور جیسے میں نے کہا بینکس کا بزنس ماڈل اپیرنٹلی اٹ سوٹس دیم, اپیرنٹلی مے بی آئی ایم رانگ آن دس, بٹ مجھے فیل ہوتا ہے کہ بینکس کو پیسہ روکنا سوٹ کرتا ہے, اور جو ہم بات ان سے کرنے کو کہہ رہے ہیں, جو کام کرنے کو کہہ رہے ہیں وہ کچھ زیادہ ہے. اٹس لائک آسکنگ اے لاٹ فرام دیم. تو واٹ کین وی ڈو؟ اسی لیے ہم کوشش کر رہے ہیں کہ فنٹیکس کو آگے لائیں, EMIs کو آگے لائیں, PSOs, PSPs, ایون برانچ لیس بینکس جو میرے لیے فنٹیکس ہی ہیں ان کو ہم آگے لائیں. آج بھی جو برانچ لیس بینکس ہیں, دو بڑے جو ہماری ہیں, دے پرفارم آلموسٹ 65% آف ٹرانزیکشنز آن راست. صرف دو بینکس, جسٹ لائک ان ادر کنٹریز. انڈیا میں بھی آپ چلے جائیں, پے TM ہے, اور وہ جو دوسرا والا ہے گوگل پے, اور پھر اسی طرح ہمیشہ ہر کنٹری میں دو ہی بڑی ہوتی ہیں اینٹیز جو یہ ٹرانزیکشنز کر رہی ہیں. ہمارے ہاں بھی یہی ماڈل ہے. دوسرا, ہماری جو ڈیجیٹل پیمنٹس ہیں اس میں فرکشن بہت ہے, مشکل ہے. ایک ایپ کو آج بھی استعمال کرنا بڑا مشکل ہے. ڈر ہوتا ہے میرے پیسے نہ کہیں کھو جائیں, کہیں چلے نہ جائیں. اور یہ ایون آپ کسی ایپ میں جائیں اور آپ کو QR ڈھونڈنے میں, آپ کو QR کا بٹن ڈھونڈنے میں بہت مشکل ہوگی. اگر مرچنٹ کوئی سیلز کرتا ہے تو اس کو یہ نوٹیفیکیشن میں بہت مشکل ہوگی کہ اس کی سیل ہو گئی ہے. ڈسپائٹ ایڈوانسز ان 3 things, ڈسپائٹ ایڈوانسز ان 1, بایومیٹرکس. آپ آج اپنا موبائل صرف اپنے فیس سے یا اپنی فنگر پرنٹ سے کھول لیتے ہیں, ویریفیکیشن, اتھینٹیکیشن ہو جاتی ہے کسٹمر کی. آج آپ کو نوٹیفیکیشن مل جاتا ہے بہت آرام سے, کوئی بھی آپ کام کریں آپ کو ان ایپ نوٹیفیکیشن آ رہا ہوتا ہے. اور لوکیشن سروسز اگین ونڈرفل تھنگ, جو آپ کو بتا دیتی ہے کہ بندہ کہاں کھڑا ہے. آئی تھنک اے کمبینیشن آف دیز 3 aspects from a mobile app can actually transform the entire پیمنٹس ایکو سسٹم, فراڈ کے حوالے سے اور باقی چیزوں کے حوالے سے. تو ہمارا جو یو آئی یو ایکس ہے دیٹ نیڈس ٹو بی سمپلیفائڈ, دیٹس دا کی ورڈ. اور اسی لیے ہم نے اپنے یہاں اسٹیٹ بینک میں وی ہیو ناؤ اسٹارٹیڈ فوکسنگ آن یو آئی یو ایکس کو کس طرح سے ہم سمپلیفائی کریں گے. ٹرانزیکشنس مہنگی ہیں, ڈیجیٹل از ایکسپینسو ایز کمپیئرڈ ٹو کیش. کیش جو چھوٹی ٹرانزیکشنس کی بات کر رہا ہوں میں, وہ کیش ابھی بھی سستا ہی پڑتا ہے, ایٹ لیسٹ اس کی فیس ویلیو پہ سستا پڑتا ہے. جتنی کاسٹ ہے وہ اسٹیٹ بینک اور بینکس بیئر کر رہے ہیں. لیکن ہماری جو ڈیجیٹل ٹرانزیکشنس اس پہ ایم ڈی آر لگا ہوا ہے, مرچنٹ ڈسکاؤنٹ ریٹ 1%, 1.5%, 2%. ہم راس فری دے رہے ہیں بینکس کو, اور مگر وہ کہہ رہے ہیں نہیں ہم اس پہ چارج کریں گے, ہم فری کام نہیں کر سکتے. اور ظاہر ہے اس پہ انویسٹمنٹ لگتی ہے نا, فری کیسے کریں. ہاؤ کین وی میک ڈیجیٹل ٹرانزیکشنس ایٹ لیسٹ ایز فری ایز کیش. کیش کو آپ فری نہیں کر سکتے, ڈیجیٹل کو سستا کیسے کریں گے, کیونکہ کچھ لوگ ہیں جو وہاں پر ڈیولپمنٹس کر رہے ہیں اور سسٹمس کو لگا رہے ہیں, تو اس کو کیسے ہم سستا کریں گے. یہ کویشچن ہے صرف, میں آئی ڈونٹ ہیو این آنسر ٹو دیٹ رائٹ ناؤ. اور پھر میجر پرابلم فیئر آف ڈاکیومنٹیشن اینڈ ٹیکسیشن, کہ اگر ڈیجیٹل کر دی تو آ جائے گا ایف بی آر. وہ تو آنا ہی ہے ایف بی آر نے ویسے بھی, لیکن وہ ابھی وہ ڈر بہت زیادہ ہے. اور میرا اس پہ آرگیومنٹ یہ ہے, جب آپ کا بزنس ڈیجیٹل جاتا ہے, آپ جب ڈیجیٹائز کرتے ہیں اپنے بزنس کو, یو سیلز ایکچولی انکریزز بائی اے فیکٹر آف ایٹ لیسٹ 10 سے آپ کی سیلز انکریز کر جاتی ہے. یہ آپ انٹرنیشنل پیمنٹ اسکیم سے بھی بات کریں یا کسی اور سے بات کریں. اور اسی لیے میں ہمیشہ یہ کہتا ہوں کہ ہم پیچھے, جو پاکستان پیچھے رہ گیا ہے, اس کی بنیادی وجہ یہی ہے کہ ہم نے اپنے آپ کو اپ گریڈ نہیں کیا, ہم نے اپنی ڈیجیٹائزیشن کو فوکس نہیں کیا. اور میری پسندیدہ, آپ لوگوں نے اکثر نے مجھ سے یہ ایگزامپل سنی ہوگی کہ جب تک ہم گھاس پہ ہاکی کھیلتے تھے, گراس پہ, ہم ورلڈ لیڈر تھے. جب آسٹرو ٹرف آئی اور ہم نے اس کو نہیں اڈاپٹ کیا, ہم لیگ میں 0 بالکل لوئسٹ نمبر پہ آ گئے. تو ڈیجیٹل از دی آسٹرو ٹرف آف ٹوڈیز بزنس. تو یہ ایک بہت شارٹ سائٹڈ اپروچ ہے ہماری بزنسز کی کہ جی ہم ڈیجیٹل نہیں ہوں گے کیونکہ ہمیں ٹیکس دینا پڑے گا, اور ہمارے بینکس کی کہ اگر ہم ڈیجیٹل ہو گئے تو ہمارے پاس پیسہ نہیں رکے گا, کسٹمر کے پاس پاور آ جائے گی. نہیں, بٹ اکانومی ول موو فارورڈ, آپ کا بزنس 10 ٹائمس 20 ٹائمس بڑھے گا. دیٹ نیڈس ٹو بی. اور پھر آف کورس ٹرسٹ کا ایک بڑا ایشو ہے کہ ظاہر ہے فراڈس جو ہیں وہ زیادہ ہیں. زیادہ تو نہیں ہے, ہمارے فراڈ کا لیول کوئی 0.01% ہی ہے ابھی بھی, جو کہ ایٹ لیسٹ انڈیا جیسی کنٹریز کے برابر ہی ہے. انویسٹمنٹس آئی ٹی میں نہیں ہو رہی ہیں. ہم بھی اب ہم نے ایک سسٹم لگا دیا, لیکن اب ضرورت اس بات کی کہ ہماری گورنمنٹس اور ہمارے پرائیویٹ سیکٹر آئی ٹی سسٹمس کو اپ گریڈ کریں اور انویسٹ کریں اور اس میں پیسے لگائیں, تاکہ ہماری جو آئی ٹی میں اتنی بڑی جو ہماری ریسورسز ہیں ان کو ہمیں, اور پھر اب اس کی وجہ سے ہماری جو آئی ٹی ریسورسز ہیں وہ آن لائن کام کر رہی ہیں, وہ باہر جا کر کام کر رہی ہیں. اب ان کو ڈالر کمانا ہے, اب وہ روپے میں نہیں. تو جب آپ جائیں گے اور یہاں جو ہمارے وینڈرز وغیرہ بیٹھے ہیں یا جو بینکس بیٹھے ہیں, اب ہمیں اچھی ریسورسز ملتی ہی نہیں ہیں اس کاسٹ پہ جو ہم پے کر سکتے ہیں, کیونکہ ان کی کاسٹ اوپر چلی گئی ہے. کیسے اس مسئلے کو حل کریں؟ اٹس گڈ فار دا کنٹری, ظاہر وہ کام کر رہے ہیں. اب وہ ڈالر آ رہے ہیں نہیں آ رہے ہیں وہ ایک الگ چیز ہے, لیکن بہرحال ان کو کام مل رہا ہے. تو ہاؤ کین وی ایڈریس دیز ایشوز. ٹھیک ہے, تو ایسا لگ رہا ہے کہ ابھی بینکس اور ہمارے وینڈرز بھی اپنے کمفرٹ زون میں بیٹھے ہیں. وہ کہہ رہے ہیں اسٹیٹ بینک کا سرکولر آتا ہے, اس کی کمپلائنس میں ہی پیسے بن جاتے ہیں, ضرورت ہی نہیں ہے کچھ اور کرنے کی. اور اسی طرح جو ہے وہ ہماری ڈیجیٹل پیمنٹس, بینکس جو ہیں وہ ابھی بھی ایکسپینسو کارڈ سسٹمس کے اراؤنڈ ہی ریوالو کر رہے ہیں, جو باہر کی اسکیمس لاتی ہیں جس سے دے ایکچولی پے منی ٹو آفر اے سروس. تو لیکن پھر بھی کچھ امید ہے, اور میں اپنی پریزنٹیشن کو ایک اچھی نوٹ پہ ختم کرنا چاہتا ہوں. اور وہ امید یہ ہے کہ ہمارا پیمنٹس انفراسٹرکچر اب کافی حد تک ڈیولپڈ ہے. مجھ سے کچھ دن پہلے لاسٹ ویک یہ بلا کر پوچھا گیا کہ اب گورنمنٹ جو پریشرائز کرنے جا رہی ہے آن ڈیجیٹلائزیشن اینڈ آل, کیا آپ سمجھتے ہیں کہ آپ کا انفراسٹرکچر اس کو سنبھال لے گا؟ اور میں نے کہا جی بالکل سنبھال لے گا, کوئی ایشو نہیں ہے. بالکل ویسے ہی جیسے کہ جب انڈیا میں ہوئی تھی ان کی ڈی مانیٹائزیشن تو ان کا انفراسٹرکچر اس حد تک تھا کہ اس نے سنبھال لیا تھا جو ڈپ آیا تھا. تو ہمارے یہاں بھی آئی ایم شیور کہ جو ڈیمانڈ آنے والی ہے آپ کے پاس اور بڑی ہیوج ڈیمانڈ آنے والی ہے ہر سیکٹر کی طرف سے فار ڈیجیٹائزیشن, آئی ایم شیور کہ ہمارے بینکس اور ہمارے جو دوسرے انسٹیٹیوشنس ہیں اور ہمارے وینڈرس وہ تیار ہیں. تھوڑا وینڈرس کو مسئلہ ہوگا ریسورسز کے حوالے سے. ہمارے پاس راست آیا جو ISO 2022 اسٹینڈرڈ پہ بنا ہے. میں ایک کانفرنس میں تھا پچھلے دنوں باہر اور اس میں کسی نے ایک بات کہی کہ ISO 2022 از دی فیوچر لینگویج آف پیمنٹس. یہ فیوچر لینگویج ہے پیمنٹس کی. تو اس کو اڈاپٹ کرنا اور اس کو انکارپوریٹ کرنا اپنی بزنس پروسیسز میں, اپنے پیمنٹ سسٹمز میں, یہ بہت ضروری ہے ہماری. آئی تھنک دس از دا فیوچر, دس از دا فیوچر. اینڈ آئی تھنک دس ہیز ٹو بی ڈن ایون بفور CBDC اینڈ ادر, جو ابھی جن کا پتہ نہیں ہے اس سے پہلے یہ کام کر لینا بہت ضروری ہے. ایڈاپشن ٹرینڈس, ہمارے ینگ لوگ جو ہیں پاکستان میں آپ کو پتہ ہے 60% سے زیادہ لوگ ینگ ہیں اور وہ ینگ لوگ ڈیجیٹل کو بہت یوز کرتے ہیں. جب ان سے بات کرتے ہیں وہ انسٹاگرام اور ٹک ٹاک بہت اچھی طرح استعمال کر لیتے ہیں اینڈ آئی ایم شیور کہ وہ آپ کی ایپس بھی بہت اچھی استعمال کر سکتے ہیں. نیو یوز کیسز اب آ رہی ہیں. آج سے مجھے 6 سال پہلے بلا کے کمپنیز کو کہنا پڑتا تھا اسکول اور کالجز کی پیمنٹس کو آپ آن لائن کریں. آج کافی حد تک جو اسکول کی فیس آن لائن ہو گئی ہے. گورنمنٹ کی کلیکشنز ہیں جو ون لنک کے تھرو ہم کرتے ہیں, ٹیکس کی کلیکشن تو دوسری, وہ کافی حد تک ہو گئی ہیں. تو نیو یوز کیسز آ رہی ہیں اور جیسے میں نے کہا کہ ای کامرس جو ہے وہ بھی امپورٹنٹ ہے. اور ود دی ایمرجنس آف ڈیٹا سسٹمس, جس طرح سے ڈیٹا میں کام ہو رہا ہے اور ڈیٹا کو یوز کیا جا رہا ہے, اینڈ ود دی پیمنٹس انفراسٹرکچر دیٹ وی ہیو, آئی ایم شیور کہ اگر ہم تھوڑی سی محنت اور کر لیں تو مجھے اس بارے میں کوئی کہنے میں شک نہیں ہے کہ انشاءاللہ نہ صرف ہماری اکانومی بہت جلد ڈیجیٹائز ہوگی بلکہ ہمارا جو اوور آل ڈیجیٹل پیمنٹ سسٹمز ہے دیٹ وڈ بی کنسیڈرڈ ایز اسٹیٹ آف دی آرٹ اینڈ ٹاپ ان دا ورلڈ. تھینک یو سو مچ.
سر آپ پلیز ذرا رکیے گا اسٹیج پہ. ویڈ لائک یور پریزنس اینڈ آئی لائک ٹو انوائٹ دا چیف ایگزیکٹو آف ٹوٹل کمیونیکیشن فیصل رحیم صاحب اینڈ نوید علی بیگ CEO انوویٹو پرائیویٹ لمیٹڈ ٹو جوائن us here on the stage to give out the shields and mementos. سر آپ awards announce کر دیجیے.
جی. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and this is a very exciting time. We will be announcing some awards for the banks based upon their performance in various categories. So the first one is for the best bank for startup support. The fintech industry is extremely important for the ecosystem, and one bank has been outstanding in its support for the startups. The award goes to Allied Bank. I would invite Mr. Kamran Zeib to please come forward and receive the award from Suhail Jawad. Put your hands together, please. Congratulations, Mr. Kamran Zeib and ABL for this award. The next one is for the an outstanding software integration. Mr. Suhail Jawad was talking about the apps, and Bank Al Falah has done an outstanding job, and this award goes to Bank Al Falah. I would invite Mr. Yahya Khan to come forward and receive the award. Congratulations. All right, so the next one is about the security. An extremely important topic in whatever digital initiative that we take. So the award goes to, on the ATM security benchmark, having implemented throughout its delivery channels, it goes to Telenor Microfinance Bank, and I would invite